There has been a lot of speculation about the Facebook Libra cryptocurrency, so much so in fact that I think that most of what people think is actually false. And a lot of the opinions that people have are before the white paper was actually released. And so today the white paper of Facebook Libra was released and it is available on libra.org, and I took the time to read through the entire white paper and develop my own opinion so I can present it to you and tell you how it's going to work and what I personally think about it. Now, before I get into this video, make sure to like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this, and I would also like to say that I am not a financial advisor and I recommend you do your own research before entering in any positions or investments. Now, the first thing that any Bitcoin lover is going to say is, what is Facebook Libra trying to solve? I already love Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the perfect currency for the future. What is Facebook Libra going to do differently? Is it just going to be another shitcoin that you can trade on some small exchange? No, Facebook Libra is not going to be a small currency that's just trying to compete with Bitcoin. Facebook Libra is actually trying to take in a different part of the market, and that's something you really need to understand in order to understand how Facebook Libra is going to work. So what are they trying to fix? They are trying to fix the fact that Bitcoin is not stable and therefore is not currently a good asset to be used as a stable currency, since that's what a lot of people are looking for. Now, the difference is that Bitcoin is a very speculative asset because it's not backed by anything. And I'm not saying that's bad. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, the US dollar is not backed by anything, and I completely agree with that. However, the US dollar has a much more stable value that a lot of people have agreed to instead of Bitcoin, where a lot of people are saying, well, I don't really know how much Bitcoin's worth. Is it going to be worth $20,000 in a month? Is it going to be worth $3,000? It's very unsure, and that's why it's so speculative and so volatile, because people are trying to find a correct price for Bitcoin to stay at in the future, especially with all the changes that it's going through, such as mining and difficulty and the halving, everything like that. It's just going to make it more volatile. So that's what Libra is trying to solve. It's trying to be a stable currency. And you might be asking, well, how is this going to be stable? Is it just going to be like USD Tether? Well, not exactly. That is something that I think is extremely important to understand about Libra. This is not just another USD Tether stablecoin. This is going to be something that is backed by a variety of assets in order to just maintain a stable value. So they're not necessarily saying that we want to be worth $1 or we want to be worth €1. This is something that is going to stay at a certain value depending on what they decide to back it with. So initially what they're saying is they're going to back this with a bunch of different currencies from different countries and different bonds, and so that's to keep it as stable as possible. Even if a certain country goes into a recession or something like that, then the Facebook Libra would still be relatively stable even if something like that were to happen. And so basically what they're saying is we want to solve the problem for all the people who don't have a stable currency. So even if, for example, the US went into a recession and the US dollar somehow lost a lot of its value, then everyone could go into the Facebook Libra and still have a stable source of value since it's connected to all of the other global currencies in the world. And another thing that I think is very important to mention about that is they aren't necessarily saying exactly what assets they can back it with. I think something that's extremely interesting about this is all they're saying is the goal is to have a stable asset. They're not necessarily saying we want to have a stable asset backed by $1. They're saying we want to have a stable asset. So say, for example, all of the global currencies started to collapse, then I think that they could decide to back it by something like real estate or like cryptocurrencies. Say, for example, that the US dollar and all currencies in the world collapsed, right? It has no more value and people are getting really scared. It's going down and it's no longer a stable currency. So what they could do through their decentralized consensus, which I'll explain in a little bit, is they could say, well, we don't want to be backed by these currencies anymore. We want to be backed by real estate, or we want to be backed by Bitcoin. And then what they could end up doing is having a currency that is stable based on the price of a bunch of different cryptocurrencies, right? So they're not necessarily saying that it has to be backed by fiat currency. It can really be backed by anything. And I think that's something that no one's really talking about. And I think that could be extremely interesting in the future. So how are they going to be decentralized? I know this is something that a lot of people have been saying. they've been saying, well, this isn't really a cryptocurrency since it's not really decentralized. It's just going to be controlled by Facebook. This is just going to be another PayPal competitor. However, I also sort of disagree with this after reading the white paper. However, it all depends on how they handle this in the future. So how they're handling this right now is they're going to have a foundation of 100 private companies at the beginning who all make an investment of $10 million in order to start the currency. And then they are all going to have nodes and have a say in what happens to the currency. Now, one thing that no one is talking about once again is that the whole point of this foundation of 100 people is to eventually transition to a more decentralized fashion for their currency. So what they're saying is, we don't want to use mining, we don't want to use proof of stake, we want to use something that isn't developed yet. So they're going to have this temporary foundation of 100 companies in order to eventually transition to a more decentralized way of control of their currency. So that is the main point of their foundation, and that is something that, once again, people are just saying, oh, the foundation is centralized, it's not truly decentralized. However, I think in the future, if they decide to change it, it will be much more interesting. And if they even do the foundation correctly, if they have 100 companies that are really not connected to each other, if they are really from all over the world, then I would say that it is also relatively decentralized. I know that some people even call Ripple and EOS decentralized, so I think that they could definitely say that Libra is decentralized if 100 companies control it. Now, another thing that is very important is that a lot of people are afraid that, well, Facebook has sold my data in the past, so are they just going to sell my financial data now? And that is something that Facebook has addressed as well. They are creating a thing called Libra, which is going to be a separate entity from Facebook that is going to develop the wallet for Libra, and they say is not going to be connected to Facebook at all. So once again, these are all claims made by Facebook themselves, so take that however you want. Do you trust Facebook? Do you trust that the government will hold them up to what they're saying? That is all up to you to decide. However, this is just what they are saying at the moment. Libra is going to be completely separate from Facebook, and they are in no way going to sell or monetize your financial data. Now, how will they make money? This is something that everyone's going to ask, right? They are making a coin, they're putting all this money into it. How are they going to make money? Obviously, they're a private company, they're going to want to make money. And so how they're going to do this is that there are going to be a bunch of authorized people who will have nodes. So as I mentioned before, there are going to be 100 investors in the foundation that will have nodes to control the currency. They all have one vote, and then that will decide how the currency will work in the future. The node owners are also going to be authorized sellers of the coin. So one way that I see that a lot of these companies are going to make money is they're maybe going to charge a fee in order to buy and deposit your money for Libra or withdraw your money from Libra. I think that's something that a lot of these companies are going to do. You see people like Coinbase and PayPal all investing money and Visa card into this project, and you're saying, well, why would they invest in this project if they're not going to make any money and it's a competitor to their own product? Well, I think that's because they do want to make money off of this, and it's likely going to be through withdrawing and depositing money to the Libra token itself, which I think they are going to most likely charge a fee for. However, that is still up to them, and I'm not sure how that's exactly going to work in the future. Another thing that they're going to have access to, and this is once again something that no one's talking about, is the Libra investment token dividends. So this is something that's extremely interesting. I'm not entirely sure on how it's going to work. However, this is what I did get from the white paper. The Libra investment token is something that is different from the actual Libra token itself. So as I said earlier, Libra is a stable coin. However, the Libra investment token, as far as I know, is going to be given to these 100 major companies, and then they are going to be able to get dividends from the returns on the investments that Libra has made in their reserves. So I know that sounds a little bit complicated at first, but basically Libra is going to have a bunch of money invested into different bonds and different currencies, and obviously these bonds are going to have some return, right? Some of these bonds are maybe going to give them 3% a year, and if Libra comes a multi-billion-dollar currency, then these 3% a year bonds are actually going to start to make quite a bit of money. So what's going to happen is all of these initial investors into Libra are going to get dividends off of the returns on the investments that they're making with the Libra reserve. So that is also extremely interesting. And if the Libra investment token actually becomes tradable, then I think that could be a speculative asset. That could be something like Bitcoin, where people are going to be trading a lot. It's going to be quite volatile based on how much is in Libra. That is going to be extremely interesting to see. And I'm very excited to see how the Libra investment token works, as there isn't that much information about it as of right now. Another way that Libra is going to make money, or people are going to make money with Libra, is that Libra will also pay companies in order to adopt it and advertise it. So obviously you have a few of these major companies. For example, if Facebook tries to adopt it, then maybe they'll get a little bit of money from Libra. However, I don't really think that's too crazy, because obviously they do have to have a marketing budget or some way for it to get mass adoption. So that is why I am excited about the Libra token. There are so many different situations on how it can play out in terms of how it's backed. And so I think it's actually a valuable token to have. This is something that I actually think has a place in the market, especially if it becomes fully decentralized. And there are certainly a lot of ways that everyone can make money with this token. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this, and see you guys in the next one.